Welcome to Mission Brain India Chapter Interview Series. I am Neha Rao, a final year medical student at KIMS Bangalore. Mission Brain is a non-profit organization founded by Dr. Alfredo Quinones Hinojosa and co-founder Dr. Michael Lawton in the year 2010. It's a non-profit organization which aims to provide neurosurgical expertise to patients, caregivers, and healthcare workers across the globe. Their motto is treat, educate, and empower. As part of the India chapter, we, a group of budding medical students and doctors, the future surgeons of tomorrow, aim to understand the neurosurgical scenario in India a little better. With us today, we have 4 budding neurosurgeons from India who have finished and are pursuing their residency at 2 apical institutes of India, which is the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, in short called as NIMHANS, Bangalore, India, as well as the All India Institute of Medical Science, in short called as AIIMS, Delhi. These 2 institutes are known across the globe for their exceptional training in the medical and surgical fraternities. The competition to get into a neurosurgery specialty is one of the highest in India. Neurosurgeons are trained in these central apical institutes and come out as wonderful, top-notch doctors. Every year, motivated medical students such as you and I take up numerous entrance exams to enter these apical institutes to train under their dream branches. Any medical student who is interested in neurosurgery would love to know how a life of a resident in neurosurgery in India would be. This interview is just for you then. We have with us today Dr. Gopinath Nayak. He was born and brought up in Hubli, Karnataka and did his medicine from KIMS Hubli. He then went on to pursue his general surgery from KEM Mumbai. He is currently doing his neurosurgery residency at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, AIIMS, Delhi, India. Apart from being so academically oriented, he's also a very good musician, loves dancing to Michael Jackson songs as well as traveling. He is very active in the field of teaching and discussions regarding neurosurgery and has a Facebook page known as Learning Neurosurgery, which has 10,000 subscribers. His interests in neurosurgery are primarily endoscopic skull-based surgery as well as functional neurosurgery. We welcome you to today's interview, sir. It's truly an honor to have you.
Thank you a lot, and it's a very good opportunity to interact with residents from NIMHANS and aspiring students like you.
To introduce our next speaker who is with us today, we have Dr. Vibha Gonkar. She is currently a neurosurgical resident at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. She started off her medical journey by doing her medicine at the Bangalore Medical College, which is one of the best college in India to do medicine. She then went on to do her general surgery in AIIMS Delhi and is currently doing her neurosurgical residency in AIIMS Delhi itself. She has constantly displayed her academic flair by bagging 8 gold medals during her MBBS time. She was also given the Best Outgoing Student Award in 2010 and also topped the batch for 2016 July in surgery. Apart from being academically brilliant throughout her life, she has also won multiple medals in high jump and long jump competitions, inter-school and school related. Apart from this, her hobbies include dancing and singing as well as movie making. We welcome you to today's interview, ma'am. It is honestly an honor to introduce you today.
Hello, good morning. It's an honor to be on this interview and to interact with people who are interested in neurosurgery and hope to make a difference for them. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. The next guest for today's interview is Dr. Kevin Sudevan. He started off his medical journey by doing his medicine from St. John's Medical College, Bangalore, which is yet another prestigious institute in Bangalore, as well as bagging the Best Outgoing Student during that time and the 7th rank in the university. He directly got into post-MBBS neurosurgical training course, which is a 6-year course, and is currently in his 3rd year. Apart from showing his academic flair like everyone in this interview, he is also an avid keyboard player with more than 20 years of experience. He's also part of a cappella groups. Apart from music, he's also a table tennis player. We welcome you, sir, to today's interview.
Thank you. It's an honor to be part of this.
Our final guest for today's interview is Dr. Rana Arun Singh. He was born and brought up at Dharmasala, Himachal Pradesh, and pursued his medicine from Rajendra Prasad Medical College, Himachal Pradesh. He then went on to do his MS in General Surgery in the Savai Man Singh Medical College, Jaipur, and just completed his MCH in Neurosurgery from NIMHANS. Apart from being an extremely intellectual human being, his hobbies include hiking and basketball. His neurosurgical interests lie in endoscopic and skull-based surgery. We welcome you to today's interview, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's truly an honor to have all four of you budding neurosurgeons today with us, Mission Brain India chapter, representing the two best institutes in India, which is NIMHANS and AIIMS. Let's get started with this interview. We'll begin with the first question. How has your journey been so far in the medical field?
My journey in medical field has been very amazing. I've been lucky enough to work to do my MBBS in a very good medical college, Karnataka Institute of Medical Sciences, and then even more lucky to work at KEM Hospital, Mumbai, which provides you wide surgical opportunities, hands-on. And I'm very thankful to my guides, Suchin Damnaskar, Professor Abhay Dalvi, Jignesh Gandhi sir, whose guidance was helped me in learning of the concepts of general surgery at KEM Mumbai. And then I'm very lucky to be a part of a central institute because of the very different work culture here and the standard protocols followed here, and the wide learning opportunities at AIIMS Delhi.
Hello. Yeah, hi. Okay, so speaking about my journey in medicine, to start off MBBS, when I initially started off, first year was very difficult. We had all those cadavers and it just felt very difficult. Anatomy, biochem, physio. But eventually, once you start getting to know the subject, getting to know the field, I feel you start getting that interest within you. And because of that interest and because of my surgery in Bangalore Medical College, I decided that I have to go ahead with that. And surgery, I did my surgery here in AIIMS Delhi, and I have to say it was very different from what I did in Bangalore Medical College. There was a very stark difference between a central institute and a periphery institute. But what I felt over here was things were more standardized, things were more well streamed. They were like, this is how you have to do, this comes to you, this is how you operate, this is how you incise, this is the suture you use. So it was very beautifully structured. I had Anurag sir as my guide, and he was brilliant. I had Anita ma'am. Both of them they really gave that direction. This is how surgery is done. And people do think AIIMS is very difficult, I don't know, there's a very strict environment, but I felt it was a more stimulating environment. It was very beautiful over here. Then after that, I decided, I have to follow my lifelong dream, which was neurosurgery. And initially, neurosurgery, people used to say AIIMS Delhi is a very terrifying place to do neurosurgery. But honestly, till now, I haven't felt that. It's a very, very stimulating environment over here. It's beautiful and I'm very happy so far. Yes, it is difficult, but it's a very beautiful experience. Thank you.
So my journey so far in the medical field actually started with me wanting to do engineering, and I had actually taken a seat in mechanical engineering before I decided to join MBBS at St. John's. But I've had no regrets to this day that I took up MBBS, and I had a wonderful time at St. John's, which is although it was a private institution, but it gave us a fantastic all-round experience. It helped me develop my personality in different aspects and gave me opportunities to showcase my talents. And I'll always be grateful to my alma mater. And following my MBBS at St. John's, I worked for a year as part of a rural service obligation at a leprosy hospital in Andhra Pradesh, which gave me some valuable clinical experience before I took up a super specialization course. And for me, fortunately, because I was able to get into the direct MCH course at NIMHANS, which is a 6-year course, I was able to avoid one very difficult post-MS pre-MCH entrance exam. for which I am truly grateful, and I acknowledge that I've been blessed. And my time here at NIMHANS has been just amazing. It is demanding, it pushes you to your limits, but there's no other place I'd rather be. So yeah, that's my journey so far.
Dr. Nayak.
Yes, for me, it's always like I was in boarding school. I studied in military school. My dad was from army background. So my first interest was always in army. But for second profession, I choose this medical profession. And for starting only, I want to do surgery. From my MBBS days, there was no PG seat, so we did lot of cesarean, appendectomy, all that procedures. So definitely, I want to always be a surgeon. Neurosurgery primarily was my interest. I went to SMS Jaipur. There got lot of patients we have operated. We gained the confidence. My guide, my teacher, Professor Dr. Jainab, he taught me a lot. And then luckily I got to this institute. Neurosurgery, the best thing about NIMHANS is the quality of education and surgery. It's not like that you are operating the patients, there is no follow-up. You have to present the case, what you did, how you did, what went wrong, everything you have to present, morbidity, mortality, everything. So that is the best thing about NIMHANS. And the life is very cool here, not toxic a bit. You can get a 5 hours sleep a day. That's more than sufficient you can ask for in neurosurgery. So it's a great experience.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Coming to the next question. Why did you choose neurosurgery?
Basically, even I wanted to be an engineer. And in Karnataka, we have the option of writing both the entrances, like engineering entrance and medical entrance. And my rank was a good rank. So I got into a medical college because my parents wished, and then I also decided to take MBBS. After joining MBBS, only few sciences that interested me and which I felt very connected to me and engaging was neurosciences. So starting from first year MBBS, I was much into this neuroscience and related topics. Neuroscience, neuroanatomy, neurophysiology, neuropath, everything allied to neurosciences I was interested in. And I wanted to join the integrated course post MBBS, but I couldn't make it into the entrance exams. Fortunately, I got into KEM Hospital Mumbai, and that was the best thing to happen because it provided the very good experience, working experience, the residency experience, which I don't think any other institute can provide because of the workload and the immense amount of cutting opportunities. It was the best place I've been, and after that I had written multiple entrance exams. I got selected at Sri Chitra and at AIIMS, so I decided to take up neurosurgery residency at AIIMS. So neurosurgery is it was always the dream branch of mine, and I always wanted to be a neurosurgeon from the start. So it was I think that paid off with my residency at AIIMS. So at AIIMS, it is a very good experience out here in terms of the variety of cases and the exposure, wide exposure that you get with respect to subspecialties and which are less seen in peripheral institutes and other institutes. So that's I'm enjoying my residency, and it's pretty engaging and challenging as well.
Okay, why neurosurgery? Firstly, because I was very fascinated by the anatomy of the brain and the complexity of the brain very early on in my life. I think it was 7th or 9th standard, somewhere there. So I just thought it was so complex and not able to understand anything. The rest of the body was also, yes, but the brain was something I just couldn't get my head around. I wasn't able to understand it. So I thought this is one field that probably, you can do a lot of research in it. You can do a lot of things with your brain, which probably, I don't know, I can't speak about other fields as of now, but I just personally felt the brain is extremely interesting. And the surgical thing, again, like I said, BMC was really good with the surgical exposure. We used to get, as an intern, I've done a bit of cutting. So I was happy about the surgical part of it from BMC, and the brain was always there. So I thought, let me just combine and go ahead and just do neurosurgery. And yeah, it has been a good decision. I do love the field. I'm happy about it.
So as to why neurosurgery, it's a funny thing. I'm not sure if it's coincidence, miracle, call it what you want. My mom predicted when I was in the 6th standard, and she's like my biggest motivator and driving force. But when I was in 6th standard and we were driving by Nimans, she just turned around and to me when I was sitting in the back seat of the car, and she said, "Kevin, one day you'll be in Nimans." And I didn't make much of it. I wasn't even going to be a doctor as per my plans. But here we are. So right. I still remember vividly the first day in anatomy when they called the attender to drill the skull so that we could see the brain. And when he lifted the skull, I still remember that picture, and that much I've never experienced with anything else in my life. And that persisted throughout. So as we went into medicine, and you go through the different subjects in medicine, and you realize that there are some things that really fascinate you and really hold your attention. And even when you're studying, it doesn't feel like you're putting in too much effort. So for me, neuroscience was one of those things, and I was always keen on doing something surgical that was fixed. So yeah, pretty much just like Vibha said, it was just a matter of putting the two together. And specifically for neurosurgery at Nimans, there were only 3 institutes that offered seats post MBBS. So one was CMC Vellore, which I got accepted but was rejected because I didn't have 2 years of rural service, which they mandate. And the other was AIIMS, which varies between 1 to 3 seats per session every 6 months. And the other was Nimans, which had a fixed 4-seat category per every academic year. So even though it took me an extra year, because my goal was clear, I was able to get what and by God's grace, I was able to get where I wanted to be. So yeah, I'm grateful for it.
Wonderful story, sir. I think many of us then should ask our moms to tell something when we're sitting in the back of the car. Okay, coming to Dr. Ranas.
Yeah, for me, before saying anything about neurosurgery, why surgery? For me, it's always be surgery, because for me to sitting in OPD for so long hours, it's not my cup of tea. You have to be in OT. I can spend 3 days together, 4 days together. So that atmosphere is really good. So I always want to be a surgeon. Other thing is why neurosurgery. If you ask a gastrosurgeon, he will say gastrosurgery is good. If ask me, it's biased. But I worked as a surgery resident. I worked in non-acad SR in gastrosurgery also. That is also fascinating, I can say. But the issue is, the best thing about neurosurgery, you have to be on your toes all the time. There are long hours of surgery, and your concentration should not fall down. And so it's like minute work you have to do. You have to do drilling also. So it's all together combined approach. So I still think it's the most amazing organ of the body, and we are getting that opportunity to operate upon. So I always want to be a neurosurgeon.
What is your motivation, or who in the field of neurosurgery is your motivation?
Actually, after joining the residency, before joining residency, I used to get inspired by the father of neurosurgery, Mohammad Kasi Effective. I used to have a photograph of him in my desktop. I had no idea about what neurosurgery was, how the patients are operated, but I had this dream of being a neurosurgeon, and that photograph was always inspiring for me. But when I joined neurosurgery, I realized the subspecialties. When I was joined in Unit 1, I realized the various surgeries being done, and depending on the subspecialties, there were people who inspired. So Professor Chandra unit I joined, and he was very good in functional and epilepsy surgery. So he has innovative techniques of doing the surgery, like he has designed the endoscopic hemispirotomy technique, radio frequency ablation hemispirotomies. These are very innovative things. So you get inspired by the people under whom you are working. So, and then there was a conference, Professor Ali Christ from United States had come here. He operated on a middle vein fossa surgery. He did a complex aneurysm surgery. I got inspired from him. And then Unit 2, when I joined Unit 2, Professor Ashish Suri, he used to do a lot of endoscopic surveys. And I started reading a lot about endoscopic surveys. I got inspired from Professor Amin Kassam, who is from US, and he's a doyen in endoscopic survey surgery. The limits of endoscopy. I started reading about the limits of endoscopy, endoscopic survey surgery. Indian neurosurgeons, like ENT surgeon, Professor Janaki Raman. He does awesome endoscopic skull-based surgery. So that is also inspiring, you know. So there are multiple people, you know, as you go through residency and as you go through surgeries, you go through subspecialties. You look at people who are very good at it, and you get inspired. When I went to see aneurysm surgery and AVM surgery, I started reading more about Michael Lawton. He's a very good cerebrovascular surgeon. There is a Mustafa Baskaya. He's a very good skull-based and vascular surgeon. So there are a lot of people who inspire you because of the modern day. We are connected to or online resources to all these people and can get to watch their videos. So these are the things which inspire you. And once when I started working in Unit 1 under Professor Manmohan Singh sir and Kavaljit sir, they do functional neurosurgery. They do deep brain stimulation. So when you go and read about deep brain stimulation, how this is done and what are the things for pre-op and post-op, you know, you get inspired to read more about it. So there are many people who have inspired me. I can't name them, but there are definitely a lot. At Hubli also there is a lateral skull-based surgeon who helped me in doing the cadaveric lateral skull-based approaches. You know. So there are many people out there. So there's no limit for inspirations in field of neurosurgery.
Okay. Prior to joining neurosurgery, yeah, like I said, it was the brain itself. That's the previous question ka answer, which was my inspiration. But after joining neurosurgery, there are like two types of teachers that I've encountered. There is a mixture, of course, but then there is one set who is very good with the surgical skills. All of them are very good, but I'm saying there are a few of them who are like exceptionally good, so good that they will be doing a surgery, they'll take out this huge tumor and you'll be like, did they even operate? I can also do this. This is so simple. They make it seem so simple, that good. And then there's another set of teachers who are so good with their concepts, they make you actually think, what are you doing? How are you treating everything? So I have come in contact with such teachers here in AIIMS, and I have been very lucky. In fact, there is Kale sir, our HOD. He is exceptional with concepts, with basics, with clinicals. He's too good. And then in Unit 2, there is Suri sir with his Suri sir, Amol sir. The combination, they do brilliant surgery. There is RKL sir. He is exceptional. He's too good. And then there are many professors like that. In Unit 1, there's like Gopinath sir was saying, Sharat Chandra sir. He has such new concepts. He does amazing research. Then there is Manmohan sir, surgically very good. My thesis guide, GDS sir. All of these people are very good, exceptionally good, and all of them continue to keep making us feel like going back and studying, understanding what they're doing. Then there's Deepak Agarwal sir and Deepak Gupta sir. They're so well read. They teach us on each. Basically, I'll be just repeating what Gopinath sir is saying, but there is no dearth of motivation, at least in the present scenario where I am. So yes, there is a continuing motivation. Each day you'll be meeting one new person who will be teaching you something. You'll feel motivated to know more about neurosurgery. So yes, it's more of a spectrum rather than one person who's motivating me right now.
So this motivation thing is probably two phases of mine. So one before joining residency, and on that, for me it was Dr. Benjamin Carson, based on whose life the movie Gifted Hands was made, and which is a movie I advise everyone who's interested in neurosurgery to watch. For me, just the story of how he went from literally nothing to being in a difficult background and literally fighting his way to the top of neurosurgery and innovating at the very cutting edge of neurosurgery is something that always inspires me. And there's one line that his mother says, which he says that his mother had said to him repeatedly, which is, you can do anything anybody else can do, only you can do it better. And that's something that always inspires me to keep pushing to get the best out of myself. Yeah. So after I joined Immense, there has been no dearth of inspiring personalities. Our department has a whole array of people working in different specialties, in different subspecialties of neurosurgery, with different skills and different talents and different ways of inspiring us. If I had to single out people, then it would be the head of our department, Professor Dwarkanath sir, whose surgical versatility and clinical knowledge are just he keeps challenging you to find the limits of what you can do. And along with that, my thesis guide, Professor Dhaval Shukla sir, and Dr. Indra Devi madam, who have been truly guiding and mentoring and pushing me through this course. There are numerous other people in our department who continue to inspire us and challenge us and push us to do better. But for lack of time, we can't take all of their names, obviously. Yeah. So this is what motivates me to be in neurosurgery and to do better.
There's like giants in neurosurgery, like I especially fascinated by Professor Dandy, then Professor M. Gaji, S.R. Gill, Professor Lawtons. These are like, they're huge names, and I definitely motivated by them. And during my surgery days, my guide and my professor, Professor Jamed, I said earlier, he was like a gem of person, great surgeon, always encouraged me to do MCH, do something unique in life, do something, do wonders in life. So huge respect for him, and he motivated me always. In NIMHANS, there are a lot of teachers like my professor, Professor Dr. Dwarka Nath. He was very much a great teacher. We do a lot of skull-based surgeries, extended endoscopic approaches. Then Professor Dhaval Shukla sir, Professor B. Indra Devi ma'am. There are like few epileptic surgeons like Professor Malla Bhaskar Rao sir, Professor Arivardhan sir. Then great spine surgeon like Professor Nupur sir. So all these are like great teachers, always motivated. So whenever we assisting them, they teach us also. They give us hand-on practice also. So that's a great thing to have on. And other thing, like some of the neurosurgeons from India are settled in US. I attended their webinar, like Professor Laligam Shekhar is there, Professor Nanda. They are like great teachers, always motivate us. So in India also, like Professor Atul Goyal sir is there, Professor Sharad Chandra sir is there. So they are the like big name, and they always motivate us. And I'm especially fascinated by their work and all that. So I especially my interest is, that's why is in skull-based analysis.
So much, everyone. As Isaac Newton said, and I quote, "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulder of giants." So I think today is truly an example of that. Can you please explain to the viewers how a day in the life of a neurosurgery resident in India is like?
It depends on which year you are. It depends how much senior you are in there. So when you start, you're in the first year of your residency. I'm doing a 3-year neurosurgery course out here. First year, you are fully busy managing the ward patients, the inpatients, the pre-op workup of the patients, and managing the post-op patients. So your most of the time will be dedicated to working up the pre-op patients and managing the post-op patients, and informing everything about these patients to the respective consultants. So there is a very well micromanagement of things happening with regard to each patient. So this is in the first year, and then in second year, the number of duties reduce, and you are posted in ICU, and you are managing the post-op patients. Okay? And once they are stable enough, they are shifted to wards. So, and also you will be getting good hands-on. So, and from second year, you start getting full hands-on in the and opportunities to assist your consultants in the routine cases, routine cranial and spine cases. So in third year, your number of duties again get reduced from what was in second year, but now you are managing as first on call, doing independent surgeries, and also looking at the casualty and managing casualty, and managing the emergency cases on OPD basis, casualty, and informing those cases to the consultant. So your role changes from first year, second year, and then the third year. Overall cutting opportunities, you get more amount of cutting opportunities as we become more senior. So this is how it happens. First year you get very little time to relax also. You are very busy informing all the patients. Second year you have a bit of free time, and third year also you get free time to read and prepare yourself for the examination. So it depends on which year you are in. First year is the busiest. Third year is only cutting, and informing managing the first on call and operating independently.
Basically, it's very structured the way resident training is done in AIIMS. You can say it patient-wise and resident-wise. Like in resident training, initially, as soon as you enter, when you don't know anything about neurosurgery, the first thing you will be learning is how to work up a case, and how to see ward patients who are basically stable. So you just need to manage all the electrolytes, probably fever and ventilator care, all basic things which you need to know as a neurosurgery resident. And then you move on as you understand the whole of the ward duty system. Then you go ahead and become an ICU resident, wherein you get more sick patients, immediate post-op patients, critical patients. And then you basically learn how to manage a patient pre-operatively and post-operative. You know that completely. But at the same time, from the first day, you will be posted in the OT as well. Depends. Earlier, we had a separate trauma center where we were posted, but now everything is clubbed in after COVID came into picture. But anyway, you are posted in OT from day one itself. You are going to the OT, but initially you'll be sticking on to a senior who will be teaching you everything, how you position a patient, how you incise, everything. There's a senior. You'll be tagging on to them. But once you get the whole point, then of course you will be put in as the single resident in the OTs. Then once you are done, once you understand patient care, once you understand basics of surgical training, then you will start getting your own cutting chances. And when you speak about the same thing in terms of the patient also, every single patient, like Sir was telling, they are assigned a particular consultant and a resident. So that resident will follow the patient until he is discharged, which can be a long time, doesn't matter. But every single day the resident should go, look to that the patient is fine. And once the patient is fit for discharge, then the patient is discharged. So that patient care is very important in AIIMS. So that way, I think even the patient and the resident, both of us are getting adequate, the right training. So that is how things are done over here. It is, like Sir said, very difficult in the first year because you are doing basically a lot of ward work, groundwork. But when you come to third year, you get more of operative chances and you follow up your cases also. After you operate a patient, you will see how your outcome is because still the patient is either discharged or has mortality. You will be following up the patient. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good structured program.
At NIMHANS, we have a pretty streamlined and organized way of doing things. So we have the Neuro Center where we have 6 different neurosurgical units, along with the casualty, which is managed separately by a separate team. So there will be 2 teams in casualty, 1 day team and a night team. So the residents rotate every month between these 8 postings, basically the 6 units and the 2 teams in casualty. So a typical day in life of a junior resident, which I will talk about, and then I'll leave Dr. Khanna to talk about the seniors. So the typical day begins at around 5:36. When you come to the ward, you take your round of the patients, check the investigations, make sure everybody's okay. And then the consultant rounds happen. Prior to the consultant rounds, you have a pre-op session where all the cases that will be operated during the day at NIMHANS and all of the 7 OTs that go on will be presented, including the previous night's casualty operated cases as well. Which will be discussed in detail and residents will be grilled. And subsequently, we'll proceed for rounds and the post-rounds working up of the patients. So overall, a junior's life basically is understanding how a patient needs to be worked up for surgery as well as the post-operative care right up to discharge. During the course of that, obviously, during round, we'll be taught what all we have to look for, what all we need to be mindful of, and the discharge instructions as to when a patient should review back and such things. In a post MBBS student's life, the first year is like Gopi sir said, it's pretty much groundwork. So you're down in the wards, which is busy. And in third year, you begin in our system. Usually, we start going to OT in third year. Where in between second year, we are posted to general surgery, usually at an external hospital. And we have an exam at the end of that, and then we come back to NIMHANS in the third year, and we remain here until we finish.
Or like a senior resident, like final year, they begin with the ward rounds. The juniors take the round, they take the round separately, see all the patients, and then they go to pre-op presentation. Now in pre-op presentation, you have to discuss all the cases which are posted in elective OT. So each final year who is going to OT, he has to present the case, from history, examination, what all investigations. So all the professors were sitting there, they will discuss all the. So the best thing is all the team plan. It is not specific to some unit. So all unit consultants sit over there, whether the plan is proper or it is feasible or something like that. So it changed also. So it's definitely beneficial for the patient. And then the patient goes to OT final year to take the patient inside, position it and start the surgery. Then the consultant comes and then whole surgery goes like this. So as soon as in evening when it got finished, then after closure, shifting the patient to ward, then he has to take the round again. whole ward round and everything, and then he has to inform all the rounds to the concerned consultant. And then again at 9:30 we have to see the post-operative patients. Any ward, any problem is there, that has to be informed subsequently, and there will always be one resident in the night to look after all the patients. Now this is the normal routine of final year. And the other thing is, at any time, whether you are free in the night, whether at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the night, you have to see the next day patient and you have to present it. There is no excuse like you got you got free from the OT like in the morning. Some cases went to 2 to 3 o'clock also. But then also you have to come early in the morning. You have to present the case in front of faculty. So there is no excuses for that. The 2-3 points which I like to highlight about NIMHANS that is quite peculiar. You have to present the trauma. Like in most of the peripheral hospitals, the trauma, when we operate the patient, we have to present what type of incision you have taken, what you did. So it's not got any unchecked, like you can do not like that. It is guided. The other thing is, second thing is, whenever the patient comes in casualty, the first hand it is seen by neurosurgeon there. We don't have any like multi-specialty, it's a single specialty hospital, so we have only neurosurgeons over there. So best benefit, as soon as patient like some trauma, EDH patient or sometimes something comes, like we immediately take the call, take the patient to OT. So that is the best thing happened in NIMHANS. And the third best thing is pre-operative presentations. That pre-operative presentation is beneficial for the patient as well as for the final year who is going to the OT. He knows what he's presenting, he knows what he should know, because you can't escape that, and it's never got cancelled, so it has to be done. So these are the few points which very much good for the patient also, and as well as for finance.
What are the pathways to become a neurosurgeon in India?
Already we have 3 post-MS candidate and 1 post-MBBS candidate. So it's always be like more of the seats are many of the seats are for post-MS. In post-MBBS, only certain institutes which give this opportunity for them. I still say for me actually, for me it's always be like surgeon. I has to be me, as I always look myself as a surgeon. So I worked up in this general surgery department, and then I decided, if someone already got like he has to be in neurosurgery, that is the best way you can get after post MBBS. So you have a lot of your age is there, and a lot of opportunities are also there. So there is either you can get to go through by post after finishing your MBBS to the courses which like institutes which provide you the courses after post MBBS, or it either could be after post MS 3 years of post MS MS course, and then you can opt for neurosurgery.
Yeah, so as Dr. Ravana summarized, essentially there are 2 pathways. One is immediate post MBBS, for which the seats are limited, the competition is hard, but that's the way it is. And post MS, which is still challenging, but there's a relatively higher proportion of seats. One thing is for all like aspiring students who want to become neurosurgeons, is that there is necessarily no right thing. There's no right way of doing this. It's completely up to you. And if you have made up your mind that you want to do neurosurgery and no other field of surgery interests you, then it's obviously a clear-cut choice. But if you're not sure, or if you'd like to see some variety before you specialize, then it's perfectly okay to do an MS and then get on with MCH. For me, that choice was already made. So, and I was clear in my mind. So that's why I went ahead with it. But there is really no right way. I've met many people over the course of my preparation who were not sure, and many of whom doing MS turned out to be a really good thing, because later they switched to something else and enjoyed doing that for their lives. So it's really up to you, and there's no right way to go.
This question, I mean, I was facing this exact same choice after I had finished my MBBS. I had a rank wherein I was getting both 6-year course as well as 3-year course in AIIMS Delhi itself. So this was a question which I have to say was a very difficult decision to make. So I had spoken to Indra Devi ma'am from NIMHANS. So I did ask her also for her opinion. I was like, ma'am, what do you think I should be doing? So she herself, she was the one who guided me. She told me, you take MS general surgery first. You see how it goes. Because being a surgical resident is a very difficult thing. It's a large chunk of your life which is going to go, and you don't get a good night's rest. It's very difficult. And so she said, you first try surgery, see how you like it, and then afterwards, if you are sure about it, go ahead and do neurosurgery. So back then, I thought it was a good suggestion, and I did take surgery in this thing. And I personally feel it was one of the best decisions I've taken. Not that I have anything against the 6-year course. The 6-year course has its own advantages. They have like a full 6-year exposure to neurosurgery. It is a very good advantage, I have to say. But I personally feel that general surgery gave me what should I say, a 3-year complete course in surgical skills alone. Like you just become that much more confident with your hand, with your cutting, with your suturing, whatever it is, with any different part of your body. You don't feel like you don't know the rest of the body. You look at the person as a whole. So your whole total the way you look at the patient is different when you're a general surgeon and when you're a neurosurgeon. Very different. Neurosurgery, yes, it is important, yes, but you tend to concentrate on the brain, and the general surgeon sees the person as a whole. So I personally feel that it did help me. The 3 years did help me a lot, and I had to skip out in 6 months after my general surgery to prepare. I wasn't getting a seat. There was no seat in AIIMS. So yeah, I had to waste my 6 months there. But I still feel that it was a very good experience, the 3 years that I spent in general surgery. So yeah, it is left to the person at the end of the day whether you want to directly go and dive into neurosurgery. If you're sure about it, then of course it's a very good option. 6 years. It is difficult. There are very limited seats. But if you want to first take a taste, like dip your toe in the water first and then go ahead, that is also an option. So yeah, it is left to each person to his own. Yeah, it's a case by case basis.
Be it 3 year or 6 year, it's a very limited time for neurosurgery. Neurosurgery is such a vast field, and my 3-year residency is not enough to understand even 20 to 30% of what is neurosurgery and what are its extent to which we can go and learn neurosurgery. So, even 6 years is limited. For me, I always wanted to join an integrated course. But immediately after MS, I got a seat in KEM Mumbai, and I couldn't get a seat in NIMHANS. I didn't have a good rank in NIMHANS. So, because KEM was a fantastic institute, it was a very good institute, reputed institute. I had gone there, and it was blessing for me because the sheer experience of working at KEM is different, very different. The workload and the cutting opportunities. The people out there are very maverick. They operate big cases, and I like that the quality of a surgeon will not be fearless to operate on complex cases, take challenges head on. Those qualities I could see people from KEM Mumbai. Even a junior consultant who used to go and operate on who would operate triple surgery and emergency. So that was the level of confidence they had in at KEM Mumbai. So that confidence I have gained from KEM. So that was the best part for me. When I say even my interest lies in neurosurgery, but the KEM is one of the best places where I've worked, and that's it. So 6-year course was I wanted to be in a 6-year course, but 3 years after MS, I don't regret for my MS, and 3 years also because of the variety of specialty exposure here. I don't have any regrets. It's been very very amazing journey so far in KIMS Delhi because of the sheer opportunities and the very wide outlook what all the possibilities are in neurosurgery. So I feel even 6 years also very less for to get completely trained in neurosurgery.
Very true, sir. I think the complexity of the course and the learning curve is definitely one of the hardest in neurosurgery, and I think it takes a lifetime to master your craft. Coming to the next question, what are the most common cases you see in India pertaining to neurosurgery?
The main chunk of neurosurgery is definitely trauma. The trauma is like we have separate emergency, so most of the trauma comes there. So that is the main chunk. Regarding in elective surgeries, there are like different fields. Like there is tumor, there are neoplasias, there are vascular thing. So these are the main cases. There's epilepsy. So all these are the cases. So briefly, I'll discuss with you like in regarding neoplasia, we have so many like meningiomas, gliomas. There are different locations like supratentorial, infratentorial, skull base. So all these cases comes to us, and from every part of India, from West Bengal, from Bihar, even from UP. From patients are coming there in NIMHANS, so we have large chunk like OPD, and their complex cases comes. The other thing is like in vascular we have like complex aneurysms cases, AVMs cases, AV fistulas and all that. We have integrated intervention radiology department, so we can go ahead with intervention as well as this surgery procedure, giving both the options to the patients. So that is the best thing, and that is an affordable price. So they need not to pay so much that they are paying in private hospitals. The other thing is like endoscopic procedures we are performing, like skull base, like pituitary and other craniopharyngiomas and chordomas, like skull base. I'll not go into detail of that. So endoscopic procedures we are performing. So these are the main cases we are dealing. We have especially like in functional neurosurgery, we are doing deep brain stimulations for Parkinson's patient, dystonia patients. We are doing lesionings, pallidotomies, all these things we are doing in functional neurosurgery. As well as we have separate epilepsy department, which includes people from neurology, from psychology and neurosurgery. They have epileptic beats, and then they will decide the patient based on their investigations like EEG, video EEG, MEG and all that. Then the decisions made regarding what surgery to be done. So that's also covers a lot of things. Then after that, these are the main, and the other thing is spine. So in spine, we do all kind of this intramedullary lesions, intradural lesions, instrumentations, then CVJ anomalies, all these things we do, scoliosis. And in pediatric neurosurgeries, we do this myelomeningocele and then craniosynostosis. We have Professor Dhaval Shukla sir, who is very famous for craniosynostosis surgery. So we are covering everything. The other thing is we have huge advantage of having like other things like neuronavigation, intraoperative MRI. We do have cadaveric lab also. We are practicing residents on Saturday. So all these things, we have a huge department here. 7 OTs we are running in elective side, and 3 OTs we are running in emergency side daily. So on elective side daily 7, so you can average 2 persons. 2 patients we are operating, so around 14 patients on elective side, and on emergency side around 14 patients in a day. So it's almost 30 patients we are operating in a day in NIMHANS neurosurgery, covering all the spectrum of cases.
Yeah, I think Dr. Rana has covered pretty much everything. So I don't have much to add to it, except for the fact that as a post-MBBS student coming to NIMHANS, there were so many things that I'd read of, like things like Moyamoya disease and Hirayama disease, which are just mythical things to me at that point. But after coming to NIMHANS, it's just like an everyday thing, and not surprised by it anymore. It just speaks to the sheer variety of cases that we see. And yeah, with regard to trauma, we're essentially the Apex Trauma Center, Neurotrauma Center for South India. So the diversity of cases that we see is just pretty amazing.
Copy paste whatever is told, except one thing for AIIMS craniophagus. So yeah, that's it. Apart from that, everything else is pretty much the same as what Rana sir has told. Everything, whatever. I couldn't think of anything apart from that. So yeah, he's covered everything.
Yes, we also have 7 OTs in elective OTs, and we have a separate trauma center called Jay Prakash Narayan Trauma Center, where there is three emergency OTs for neurosurgery. And we also have around 14 cases. We take 2 cases per OT, 14 cases, elective cases per day. And emergency cases, we don't count. We count, it can be like 10, 15, who knows. But that number of cases happen. So in a day, maybe 30 cases also at teams. But the thing is about the subspecialty is very good, and in the state of art hardware, the intraop navigation, the intraop MRI, the advanced microscopes. We use a Kinovo microscope. There is a robotic assistant called ROSA here, which we use for stereotactic surgery. And best part is also we also manage the post-op if there is residual or recurrent lesions. We have a separate gamma knife at AIIMS Delhi, which is managed by Professor Deepak Agarwal sir, who is my guide here, and Professor Manmohan sir. So it's a holistic approach, overall pre-op, post-op, intra-op, and everything is managed very well. So we also see all these cases. But basically, for a resident like me, we get good cutting opportunities in trauma. Trauma is where you get exposed to most of the cutting opportunities, and the elective cases mostly we assist our consultants. And the good part is, the best part at teams is you see the variety, you see the innovations happening in front of your eyes. Like Professor Chandra doing hemispherotomy, radio frequency ablation hemispherotomy. You are part of it. You are assisting him. So that's an innovation happening in front of your eyes. So he's doing a procedure called DCER for C1, C2 for complex atlantoaxial dislocation. So you see innovations happening in front of your eyes. So that is a quite inspiring. And we also have a animal and cadaveric lab where we practice microscopy under microscope, drilling exercises, and endoscopic models for residents. So overall, the advantage of central institutes compared to a periphery institute is that you get a work culture which is very protocol based, and which actually helps in standardize the resident. So that's an advantage of working at teams, be it in the marks. It's very standardized, so that's the advantage of being in a central institute.
How are the research opportunities for a neurosurgery resident in India?
Regarding research and opportunities, like we all do like thesis during our 3-year course or 6 year course. So there we also have interaction with our guide, and we select some amazing topic in that we could get the opportunities to work on patients on cadavers. Like I'll give you a few examples. Like we are doing like cadaveric studies, like in extended endoscopic approach to occipital condyle region, to approach through endonasal route to brainstem lesions. That is still in on animals and on cadavers, but still there are very few studies that done all over the country, all over the world. There is high cervical approaches for like transoral we are doing for atlantoaxial dislocation, but there is high cervical approaches we are doing on cadavers to see the course of vertebral artery and to approach that pathology over there. That is also in frame. Then other like genetical studies we are doing, like one of our colleague or my junior is doing like thesis on meningiomas patients, like TERT mutation. Some kind of genetic mutations happen to be like more like even in grade 1, grade 2 meningiomas happen to have recurrence. So if they have mutations, so there is very much 100% chances of recurrences. So definitely it's beneficial. It's still in primary stages, but definitely it will have future. And other thing like in our professor Dr. Vikas, he has special collaboration with the IIT, and so he was very much into biotechnology. So he had developed robotic arm for dissection, brain dissection. And also now he's doing like for epilepsy patient, we are doing ECOG monitoring in crop. So he's developing, that is quite big in size. So he's doing some like microelectrode chip, is still that is in rats we have started. So it will come on. So all these things will come up in future. The best thing is our professors, our teachers always encourage us to have that innovative, creative approach. Go to the best thing is go to cadaver lab, practice there. And that is your workplace, that it should be like your temple. So your anatomy should be clear. So all these things will help you to the main sole aim is to we should give as much benefit to the patient. So all this we are very thankful to our teachers and professors for creating that environment and giving us that opportunity.
Yeah, so in terms of research opportunities, I mean, it's like there's no end to it. It starts with your thesis, obviously, which for a 6-year candidate, there's a lot of emphasis being put on to like making sure it's a quality project involving as many samples as possible. So there's a lot of planning and detailed work that goes into it, and we try to make it as elaborate as possible because we obviously have a slightly more time than our MS counterparts. So apart from that, every other day, some consultant or the other here at Immense will catch you and be like, I want this paper, you write this paper, and I want it in so-and-so time. So we're always given a time frame. There's no shortage of data. There's no difficulties in accessing the data. So I think this would apply to both central institutes, that, when you're in a place where there's so much patient load and so much data being collected for each patient, there's not really any shortage in the kind of research you want to do. It's entirely up to the individual. And the more you push yourself, the more research output you can put out. And the thing about NIMANS is that all our faculty are extremely approachable. So especially if it is with regard to research and you are taking a specific interest in something, there's no one who will even deny you like their time, or they will set time apart even from their schedules to make sure that you are able to put out a good paper and ensure that it gets presented, ensure it goes to the right journals in the right format. So there's a lot of guidance and effort towards this, especially at NIMANS.
I think one of the biggest advantage of being in AIIMS is research, because it's like we even have a research day wherein we like present whatever research we have done. So the thesis is not the most important part of research. It is more of a formality which has to be completed. So it need not be that your thesis is the most important thing you're doing. What you see here is that in each field, like if I have to speak about neurosurgery alone, like Sir was telling Gopinath sir, so we have so many sub-fields, and in each of them we have a master. And like for instance, there's Suri sir in skull base, there's Deepak Gupta sir in pediatrics, like that, and each of them are doing their own research under them. Like PSC sir, Sharat Chandra sir is doing so much new things in epilepsy, ROSA, and all of that. Then there is Moya. There's so much of research happening, like bypass surgeries, whether there's actually an effect of doing that bypass surgery, flow rates through all these vessels. And you have so much of technology available in AIIMS that you can actually do amazing research over here, and it is being done. And for that matter, I myself have been involved in quite a few studies apart from my thesis. Thesis, of course, is ongoing, but apart from that, also you're doing a lot of research here. So there is our skills lab, like Sir was telling. There's animal models. There's so much research coming out of AIIMS that, I think that is one of the most. We even have a course. We have a 5-day course where they teach us how you write papers, how you research, what are the different types of studies and papers that you can publish, and how do you write it, how do you become an author, how do you get your papers published. So you have a 5-day course for every single. It's compulsory and you have to go. There's an exam at the end of it. It's quite intensive. So I think one of the most biggest advantage of being in AIIMS is the research, and at the end of it, you are sure how to write a paper and how to get published. So
it's purely on the resident here again, because there's so much of data, so much of variety of things all over. And if resident wants to do a lot of research, there is no barrier to stop them. There's a lot of research happening here, research data available. Purely on the resident, how enthusiastic the resident
This
is.
question will almost be like an icebreaker. How do you manage your work-life balance as a neurosurgeon?
Regarding balance between personal life and professional, as a neurosurgeon, surgery resident, I must say it's not a big deal. No doubt we get a lot less time as compared to our counterparts in other departments as well as other non-medical people. But still, I think the time is sufficient. The only thing is, the best thing about being a neurosurgery resident, that you know the importance of time. We don't waste time even if normally I sleep for 4 to 5 hours, not more than that. So whenever I get a time, I used to go for a hike, I used to play basketball. So for me, it's always be like, time is not a problem. You should know when to, if you are wasting, if you have so much time, you rather than wasting in time doing lazy things and all that. But the best thing about being a neurosurgeon, you know the importance of time. So whenever we get the time, we do go for party, we go for whatever hobbies we are having, do that. And sleeping for 4 to 5 hours is sufficient for me or many of us. There is no big deal about it. And if you are residency is no doubt is tough. First year is especially tough, and slowly it becomes relaxing, but mentally it's more exhausting then, because you have to go to OT, you have to prepare your cases, thesis, exams and everything. But still, I think the students budding medicos who still want to take neurosurgery, I don't think so. There is any problem in time management. There is no toxicity as such, and neurosurgery is a wonderful branch to work on. And you have that adrenaline rush all the time in OT, and you are on your toes. So that thing is best thing about neurosurgery. So being sitting rather than in other departments, for sitting for 8 hours and all that, I can't do that. So for me, it's never be a problem to manage between my professional life or personal.
With regard to work-life balance, well, I would say definitely that the amount of time that you spend doing things apart from work comes down. but it doesn't have to make the quality of what you do any less. So like Rana sir said, work hard, play hard. So when you get time, you just make sure you make the most out of it. And go out with friends, enjoy stuff. I keep my keyboard in my room, so when I have time, I de-stress with that. So it's really up to you and how you manage your time, and that's something that you will learn even while preparing for neurosurgery, because preparing for it is also not a small deal. So there also you have to learn to manage time. So it kind of becomes ingrained, and you learn that when you have time, you make most of it. Sure, you may not be able to attend a lot of family functions. Maybe some relatives will forget what you look like, but on the whole, you can still maintain a decent quality of life, and as long as you love what you do, it doesn't make difference. So.
I have to say, to be honest, yes, it does compromise your personal life a lot. It does, because you are spending a lot of time in the hospital. It is a different thing if you're enjoying it. Yes, of course, it's okay for you. But if you would ask my parents and my family, when was the last time you saw her? Did you spend time with her? Like I think after joining neurosurgery, the longest time I've been with them was 5 days, and that was a big thing. It was a very big thing. Oh, you got 5 days off. So it's like that. It's a huge thing. It is a big taxing thing on your personal life. I cannot say it's going to be okay, it's fine, you can manage. You cannot. You will be compromising a lot. So you have to take your decisions. You have to be sure that this is what you want. You should be passionate enough to actually go into the field knowing that you are going to be sacrificing your personal life, because you will be. You ask someone else, you'll ask me, I'll say, it's okay, I'm fine, I'm happy, okay. Just ask someone, my friends, my family, they will tell you, no, she is not even around. So yes, you are sacrificing a big part of your personal life. But yes, the little bit of time that you do get, you do value it a lot. Like Rana sir was telling, you do learn to value your time. You will start using it. You cannot possibly Netflix and chill all the time. So you can, you tend to start studying, like chilling out a little bit, whatever. But you will learn to value your time. And it is very taxing on your personal life. That is.
Up to MBBS, it was all okay. But in internship, my hospital, internship started, and it started slowly. Internship also, we used to have daily duties, and we had to have 12-hour shifts work. So internship was also very busy. But when I joined AEM Mumbai, shower was a weekly ritual for me. So we had no time to even take care of our users. So we used to get only 2 to 3 hours of sleep every day. So that was my first year in general surgery. So this became I became used to it. And thereafter it didn't matter much to me how busy the day was. It was just going on working. And after coming to AIMS, the duty hours are very fixed. When I was at KEM, they had 24/7 call. You can be called at any point of time. But at AIMS, the duty hours are very fixed. So you have a 24-hour ward SR shift duty. Then the next day is off. So it's on you whether you want to go and attend OTs but there are off days also post your duties. So that is the best part about the residency. You get off also post your duties. So I found residency at AIMS much more well balanced than that of AEM Mumbai, and the priorities actually change with your life events. Okay, prior to my marriage, I had no much of my personal life. So after my marriage, in only 4 months, now I have a personal life too. So I have people to take care of at my home. So it all depends on your personal life also, what is going on in your personal life. So when the days are busy out, only the friends, the residents, co-residents, you chill out with them, you go to movies. Those are the fun days. Working for 24 hours and the next day go to a movie. So you enjoy that a lot. The stress busting things that I used to listen to a lot of music. I started playing guitar in the lockdown. So I don't have any complaints because of the lockdown, we got so much of free time in last year and this year. Okay. So actually, we have lost a lot of things. Okay. We have lost a lot of exposure, neurosurgery exposure. Our seniors used to go to other countries, international institutes for observership. more my senior, he went to Barrow Neurological Institute for observership. But that opportunity is not with me. Probably Vibha was very lucky enough to get that type of opportunity because COVID situation is relaxing now. But we have lost a lot of good time, learning because of COVID scenario. So I mean, there is no complaint of. I mean, I didn't have. I was very busy out, and it was very challenging. ऐसा feel नहीं हुआ क्योंकि this was only the first year, second year, third year it was all COVID.
Thank you, sir. Yes, very true. The COVID pandemic took away many things like clinical exposure, even to undergraduate medical students. But it also gave us a lot of time for other things like strengthening our theory, spending time with family, and many other things. So yes, developing new hobbies, good cognitive exercise. Coming to the next question, as already mentioned by most of the residents today, but again I'll repeat the question: what are the latest technologies and advances in neurosurgery in India which are being done, and how would you rank neurosurgery in India with respect to the world?
Regarding answering to this question, I already mentioned you there is a lot of projects are going on, cadaveric studies. Regarding the facilities available in NIMHANS, I can talk about. We have gamma knife centers. We have integrated hybrid OT. We have neuronavigations, intraoperative MRI. These are as far as with any other institutes in the world. So all these things, we have a great team of intervention radiologists. Then we have cadaveric labs. We have great neuropathology department, and that has backup for all the histopath and everything. They are doing brain cutting sessions all the time, inviting us and teaching us most of the times. So this is for like if you go to any private, the best thing is that the case that is discussed with all the team and then a holistic approach is taken. And we always give the patient all the latest things that is happening. And it's not about like only that if the patient of something like, to give you example, if something like giant aneurysms comes, and we always give them options of intervention like going for stent assisted coiling or flow diverter, anything, and as well as like bypass options. So that's the patient's choice, what he wants. We always explain them pros and cons of everything, like radiological intervention as well as surgical intervention. So, and once the patient is posted for surgery, what are all the adjuncts we have, like monitoring, like if we are doing any intramedullary lesions, we have all that SCCP, MEPD, wave monitoring, all that monitoring adjuncts are there. Like if we are operating on any eloquent areas, tumor, we do the awake craniotomy. Along with that, we do the speech mapping and everything. And then we'll take the patient to IUMRI to look for any residue is there or not. So these are the things that is as far as with any other center, best center in the world. And that's it. So these we are giving means there is no other things like that we are lagging behind from any other center.
Again, Rana sir has summarized pretty much everything that happens at NIMHANS. So in addition, there was we had a microvascular anastomosis workshop, which is conducted by Dr. Nupapati and Dr. Prabharat. So that was a really fascinating experience for me as a second year post MBBS neurosurgery resident to just to attempt suturing with 10-0 on a rat femoral vessel was under a microscope. That was something pretty exhilarating, and I don't think many residents at my stage of learning would have had that opportunity. So it's that kind of stuff, the small things that prolong over a period of time, which build into a completely holistic resident experience.
As far as technology is concerned, like I said, it's in par with, I think we have everything, almost everything, which is of the latest, standards. Intra-op, like sir said, all IONM and IGS, and you name it, basically we have everything, all of that, and we have our skills lab. As far as research is concerned, we are doing new things, but I still think there's a long way to go for us to actually reach the level of probably Paro, that level. There's probably a long way to go, but still we are on the way. We are not lagging behind. We have at least started off with some very original research. And so I think, it will require a lot more effort on part of all neurosurgeons from India, but we are on the way there.
So whatever you are listening is you are listening from two national premier institutes. Okay, so which are resource rich. But if you go to periphery, you don't find any drill systems there. You don't have smoke monitoring. There is no IOMM, neuro monitoring. So the thing is, the distribution of resources is not well informed because our AIMS is very well funded. We have a very dynamic department, so we are having resources, so we are able to do something new in field of neurosurgery. But the peripheral centers, the state centers, they don't have that resources. So when only these resources are distributed to limited institutes like AIMS and NIMANS, very little research will happen. Original research will happen. But if these resources are spread across all part of the country, even if there are like 15 to 20 institutes of AIMS and NIMANS levels, you can expect a lot of research from the country. And so, this limited, this high tech technology is in hands of only few. So we have to, there should be wide distribution of resources. And but when our research in the country is happening is going on, but it is not to that level of what's happening outside. We are also doing so in some fields we are excelling. We are giving the best techniques like we are managing complex Atlanta axial dislocation cases by doing a DCER, which is not followed anywhere else. We are doing it. We are doing radio frequency ablation hemispherotomy. These are things which we are doing, which are very new and innovative, which are not done elsewhere. Maybe in few centers, but not elsewhere. But overall, there are many different subspecialties which require a lot of work in our country. So, like for example, in intrauterine surgeries, okay, repairing a meningomyelocele intrauterine, when that is not done at our age. So we have to develop in pediatric neurosurgery those sort of facilities. So in endoscopic neurosurgery, we are doing all the extended procedures, but we are not. We are also doing the endoscopy and coronal plane, but the research that is happening in endoscopic surgery at the Institute of Pittsburgh and internationally, it's far beyond what we are doing. So that I can't explain it completely, but we are not. We are maybe progressing, but there is a long way to go, and a lot of opportunities because of the number of doctors that are present in India. If they are resource rich, if resources are provided to everyone, I'm sure that a lot of research will happen in India as well.
What are your future plans as a budding neurosurgeon?
As far as my future plan is, the NIMHANS will, after completing our MCH, they gave us opportunity to work here for 1 year at least. That is optional, it's not mandatory. So we can work here for 1 year. So right now I'm doing that. So I'll complete this 1 year, because here, like in post MCH period, it's like the best period. You are posted for 1 month in one unit, and you have to go to OT. You are in charge of that, and you get on hand-on. The consultant will back you, and you are doing all kind of surgeries. So that is the best thing we can get. After that, as my hometown is in Himachal, I'm thinking of going to nearby place like Chandigarh or somewhere. So then after there, I'll see where I will get, and further I'm planning for fellowship side in skull base and endoscopy.
I'm still pretty early in my life in neurosurgery. I'm still in my third year. I've still got 3 more years to go. So right now I don't have any plans for my future except to get through my course, finish it properly, learn as much as I can, and take whatever lessons I learn here as I go forward.
Giving back to one's own hometown, like Dr. Rana said, is very essential. I think it's an integral part of Indian culture. As Indians, we always tend to give back and serve. That's why so many Indians are very good doctors. Coming to Vibha ma'am.
In functional neurosurgery and in epilepsy. So we already have a pretty good exposure here, but I just want to get exposed to how things are being done outside of India to at least get an idea of how research happens, how it is different from what we have already learned over here. So I intend to do a fellowship outside and then come back to India to continue over here itself, hopefully in an academic institute itself. So yeah, that's the plan, functional epilepsy.
To conclude this interview, I would like to end with this question. What is your advice to any medical student watching this interview out there across the globe to pursue neurosurgery?
Regarding the advice to the budding medical students, I must say that before deciding for neurosurgery, whether you should decide whether you want to be a surgeon or not. It's very important because as soon as you take, I met a lot of my juniors who joined surgery and then they don't like OT. So when I want to take neurosurgery, when I want to take surgery, I went to my senior. He was in oncosurgery. He asked me one question, whether you would like to sit in OPD or want to be in OT. For my answer is always be OT. So if you don't like OT, never go to the surgical branches. One thing. Other branches are very equally good. You can try there. The other thing is, if you should know how to treat the human body. Human body is a temple, and surgery is not butchering. It's an art, especially neurosurgery. So if you don't have respect for human body, so you should not be in this field. So that is very important. Third thing is, surgeon is difficult. It's that we already told, schedule is too hectic. Most of the times we will be OT stuck there and there. So there are a lot of sacrifices. If you still want to enjoy your life, if you want to do something good in life, there are a lot of fields are there. You can do that. So if you are very much passionate and you don't afraid of blood and all that things, and you have that in you, like adrenaline rush or something like that, and something to keep you motivated all the time. So this is never ending. You have to operate for long hours. You have to sacrifice your sleep and everything. So if you're ready to do that, and then you should go ahead for surgery. And especially about neurosurgery, I must say, this is the most amazing organ of the body. And the way you are operating, it's totally different. When you are operating on the human brain, it's when you are when you are opening the skull, it's totally other way around, and when you inside the brain, like it's totally different approach. So it gives you wide variety of practice surgical skills. You are operating under microscope, so that will require a lot of hand-eye coordination, lot of patience and precision for long hours. So, but still the results are exceptionally good. Neurosurgery, don't think that neurosurgery we are doing like lot of mortality. It's not like that. Now we have new advances are there, and lot of people are salvageable, and they will remember for your life. But you have to understand that it's an emergency. It's an emergency field. It's not like that you can lay down and do that. You have to be on your toes all the time. But still, that passion and the satisfaction you will get after operating somebody, it's at another level. So it's not that hectic field. You can still enjoy your life. So if you are really passionate about it, you should go ahead.
I think for all aspiring medical students, there's just 4 things I think that anybody who wants to be a neurosurgeon should have. The first is a healthy obsession. You have to be completely, focused, passionate, and obsessed with the concept of neurosurgery and the concept of dealing with somebody else's brain and their identity, essentially. For me, like whether it's reading different topics or being in OT and watching procedures, it has to be enthralling. That's the only way you can overlook the long hours that you spend, the pain in your legs after standing for an entire day, the few hours of sleep, the lack of contact with relatives. That's the only thing that makes up for it. So the first thing is an obsession. You have to be obsessed about it and intensely want to get better at what you do. The second is discipline. And this is very important. Like as Rana sir said, you are dealing with, this is a field of surgery where you exclusively have control over a person's identity, which is not something you get in any other field. And that demands that you have the highest, you put everything you have into making sure that your surgeries go well. So you dedicate yourself to working hard to learn first and then to practice and get better as a surgeon. So discipline is completely irreplaceable in neurosurgery. The third is that, knowing the fact that anybody who takes up neurosurgery has to know that it is an intense branch. It is tough. You will not get much time to yourself, but you still need to keep a hold of everything that you do apart from neurosurgery. You have to have something else that you are good at. One of my faculty at St. John's, Dr. Arvind Kasturi, always used to say, when the person upstairs, God, called by many different names, when he goes up, one of the questions he'll ask you is, okay, you are a neurosurgeon, but what else were you good at? So I think it's really important for all of us to have something else that defines us, something else that you are really good at, and that's something that keeps you refreshed. Everyone needs some time to step back from the intensity of a profession, especially one that is as demanding as neurosurgery. So it's important to hold on to all of the extracurriculars that you do and pick the ones that you're still able to do in limited time. The last thing is obviously a strong support system. I would not be able to do this if my parents were not okay with the idea of me not being at home and being away for long periods of time, not being around. So I think in that way, it's really important to ensure that you have a backup system, because there will be days when you will be down. This is a demanding field, so there will be days you will get yelled at and you need somebody to talk to in the night. And this is at 10:30, 11 in the night time. So, but it's important to have a good support system, and in that way, I'm fortunate to have had that from my family. So these are 4 absolutely essential things that anybody should have for joining us.
Wonderfully put, sir. Thank you.
One of the most popular opinions of people in MBBS is that the medicine people think and the surgery people can't. Like it became a little. I just think that surgeons don't think. One of the things that Anurag sir used to tell, he was the HOD in surgery in AIIMS. He said a surgeon is a physician first. So a physician who is equipped with the skill of using a knife, that's what a surgeon is. So you do not think that you are just cutting. It's not wood that you take and cut. It is a human person, and it's a human as a whole. So there's a lot of medicine involved in surgery as well. A surgeon is one addition to a medical person. You need to know medicine. You need to know your basics. You have to know how to treat a person with medicines before you go to surgery. So MBBS people should not think that surgery is cutting without using your brain. You are using a lot of your brain in surgery as well, and well in addition to what people use in medicine as well, in fact. So do not think that by becoming a surgeon, you're giving away all your Harrison. You need your Harrison even in surgery. It is essential. So do not think that surgeons are in any way, less when compared to the thinking part of it, firstly. Then after you're sure about surgery, then for neurosurgery, yes, you have to be prepared to put in a lot of your time, a lot of your effort, and a lot of sacrifices, yes, but you should be sure about it, because neurosurgery is a beautiful field. You should understand that it's an ocean you're diving into, and it should be worth it. If you don't like it, then it will not be worth the amount of time and effort you're putting into it. So you should be absolutely sure that this is what you want, and you love it that much that you would be ready to sacrifice other things, other aspects for neurosurgery. So yeah.
It's your interest. Okay. If neurosurgery is your passion, then do it. Okay. Because it's going to take a lot of time, energy, everything of it. And so basically I was very much interested in neurosciences since my MBBS days. I always wanted to be a neurosurgeon. So I enjoy reading new things in neurosurgery. I enjoy seeing new surgeries, different surgeries in neurosurgery. So this keeps me engaging with the field. So I think this is a primary thing that drives you in the residency. So if you are not interested in neurosurgery, then please, this is not the field to be taken. As such, surgical branches are that if you are interested, then only you have to take it. And if you are passionate about it, then neurosurgery is a very beautiful field, very, very beautiful field, and it's very interesting. So it's all the passion and interest that will keep you engaged in this field.
A follow-up question to Dr. Vibha ma'am. What is your take on women in neurosurgery?
I get asked this question a lot. To be honest, I don't think this question should be coming up. If you really say women and men are equal, if you say there is feminism, equality, then there should not be a word called women and men coming up in the first place. I think you should just not even be asking me this question, to be honest. You should be like, Arya, you're another neurosurgeon. You're not a woman neurosurgeon. So I don't personally believe in there being a separate okay, there is an important aspect, yes, when it comes to the Indian society. People, the way, if I would say, and if in case my brother was and if he would say, I want to take up neurosurgery, if I would say, I want to take up neurosurgery, people will look at it differently, saying, what is wrong with you? You will get married, you will go with your husband, you will have to take care of your children. So why do you want to get into a field like that? That is one thing which is very essential. I was very lucky, in fact, because I had a supportive family. Not everyone has that. So it might be difficult to some women to follow their dream in neurosurgery. But I guess if you're sure this is what you want, you should be standing. You should be taking a stand and saying, yes, I want to do neurosurgery. This is what I want to be. And you will have to take a very firm stand if that is what you want to do. But at least going forth, I would want to see a world wherein women and men should not be used separately. I would really love that world wherein it's like you're a neurosurgeon. There shouldn't be, I just hear a lot of this. She's a woman president. She's a woman secretary. What's with this woman thing? You just say, okay, she's the secretary. She's the president. I really wish there's a world wherein that will occur, wherein you're not treated separately, wherein extra word, lady, woman won't come up. It should be just everyone is equal. That would be the perfect, ideal world.
Very true, ma'am. I think and I hope that world comes to reality soon. And it looks like it's in the process. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Gopinath sir, Dr. Vibha ma'am, Dr. Kevin sir, Dr. Rana sir, for taking your time off your extremely, extremely busy schedules and actually making this interview happen. Your words will truly inspire every medical student across the world, especially in India, to understand what neurosurgery is in India and what it takes to be a resident. We went through the interview with you talking about a day in the life of neurosurgery, the latest technology, how the central institutes such as NIMHANS and AIIMS are doing with respect to neurosurgery. And we truly did get a bird's eye view of the entire field. So to all the medical students watching this video right now, I urge you to find out what you're passionate about, and definitely if neurosurgery is your calling, you should pursue it. And it doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man, just have to pursue it and follow your dreams. Coming to Mission Brain India chapter, we as medical students who are part of this Mission Brain want to include neurosurgery residents into this chapter, and we would definitely take all of you, sir, ma'am, on board. And we would love to connect you with Mayo Clinic at Florida, Dr. Alfredo Quinones, Hinojosa sir. And I'm sure these connections will only strengthen and take neurosurgery in India and across the world to greater heights. Thank you so much for listening patiently to this vast interview, just like the field, but we're all interested. That's why we've listened so far. Again, I would like to thank all of you personally. It means so much that you took your time off. I'm sure you all must be extremely humble and extremely good people to give so much time on your Sunday to me host this interview. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you. This was a fantastic opportunity.
It was a wonderful experience interacting with people to get an insight of what happens in the month. It was nice listening to Dr. Kevin, Rana. It was nice listening to you. And so all the best to everyone who has joined this webinar.
Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. It was a nice, healthy discussion with our counterparts from AIIMS. Regarding that woman thing, we also have 4 juniors. We have the girls who joined neurosurgery. They are doing a lot. As far as with other neurosurgeons, there is no difference in that. So thank you so much for giving us this opportunity once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. It was, I think, a very good use of our Sunday afternoon. So no complaints.
Thank you so much. I am Neha Rao, a final year medical student from KIMS Bangalore, and this is me signing off. See you in the next interview. Thank you.